Top of the morning to you. Mullers on the move here. We're a traveling, homeschooling healthcare family. I'm Blake. I'm the nurse anesthetist doing the full time work here. This is Paige. She's the full time nurse practitioner turned homeschooling mom who maintains our household. The topic we're going to talk about today is the housing. How do we do housing with three kids traveling every 3 to 6 months to new cities? What are some of the avenues that we've done to obtain housing? How do we control the expenses of it? We're going to delve into that topic today.
Thanks for joining us. We're excited to share this topic with you because it is one of the most frequently asked questions we get. Are you an RV family? How do you find housing for three kids? We are not an RV family. Our kids and Blake grew up on his family's land, and so they are used to a lot of space, a lot of places to roam. His mom calls our kids
Feral.
no free. They
Free.
are feral, but she calls them free range kids too because they are just used to having their own space to roam. So we are not an RV family. I know my limitations, and we wanted to make this as comfortable and as normal to what our kids are accustomed to. So we find short term rentals using different platforms, Facebook groups, and real estate agents.
How we do the traveling from house to house is I have a truck, Toyota Tundra. She has a minivan. I have a little camper top on the truck, and we pack a U-Haul, 6x12 U-Haul. We pack as much stuff as we possibly can in both our vehicles, and I tow the U-Haul to our new house every 3 to 6 months. And the main platforms that we use are Airbnb, VRBO, Furnish Finder, and then also other Facebook groups for the cities that we're going to.
Our most used one, I guess that we've had the best luck for us on, has been Airbnb.
Yes, without a doubt.
And then
Furnish Finder just isn't very updated. It's just not near as high quality of a search engine.
for those of you who don't know what Furnish Finder is, it is a short-term rental platform similar to Airbnb and VRBO, but it was initiated to cater to travel nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And most nurses, especially, years ago, were solo or a couple. And so a lot of the Furnish Finder rentals that we have seen are for a room in a house or a condo. They're not usually a 3 or 4 bedroom home. However, we are also hosts. We host our house when we're traveling for multiple reasons we can get into later. But our very first tenant was a travel nurse, and she found us on Furnish Finder.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just, some of the main things we think about as healthcare. I'm a CRNA, of course, is not just going to work into a new hospital, a new city. It's when we pack up and drive 2,000 miles to go to a new house that really all we see are pictures. It can be extremely nerve wracking. Not only just worry about going to work and hoping you're getting paid, you're with a high quality agency and high quality reputable hospital, but I think walking into a new home with your whole entire family with just your vehicle to U-Haul can be very nerve-wracking. So, one very important thing is to have a cancellation policy in effect. You don't want to just have for instance, a 4 month assignment, and you have to pay the whole 4 month assignment from the get-go. You want to be able to have at least 30-day out.
Well, maximum.
Maximum 30-day out. You don't want to be stuck with this bill if this house isn't come close to what the pictures show, or obviously you want to talk to the owner in person beforehand too, just to make sure all this is covered. You also want you want to try as much as you can into the anesthesia contract that if somehow most cancellation policies on your actual locum anesthesia contract is a 30-day out. So if your housing isn't mirroring that 30 days, you could be stuck with multi-months of rent where you're not even living there, which is obviously very cost prohibitive we've been doing it around the country from Arkansas to Maine to Oregon, and now we're in Colorado. And I think there's only one place that we paid less than $4,000 a month for housing. Most of these contracts, you either have the all inclusive set rate, which is more than the rate where they pay for housing and travel. Most of them is at least a $4,000 monthly stipend.
And then we've chosen to come out of pocket for some of the houses because we wanted a specific house. But going back to, these companies are not used to a family of 5 coming on the assignment. So their living stipend is based upon somebody staying in a hotel or a 1-bedroom house or a condo somewhere. So we are fortunate that we've gotten that amount.
And even if I was living by myself somewhere, I still wouldn't even want to be in a hotel room for 3 or 4 months. That sounds like torture. And
people don't mind that.
and who has ever stayed in a hotel lately less than $150 a month? I mean, a night. Because you say, a housing, for instance, that we're in now is $5,000 a month. And I mean, it does sound extremely expensive, and it is, but I mean, $200 a night in a hotel, that equals roughly $6,000 a month. Yeah. And obviously, all the expenses are already paid for when you're in these housing, but that's the hardest part for me, is finding the house. The hardest part for us, in my opinion, one of them is finding the housing in the right neighborhoods, close to activities for the kids, close to other homeschooling activities for the kids.
Close to the hospital.
And close to the hospital, of course, within car range.
Yeah. And then, like we said, we don't travel to these cities and see the house. We literally pull up with the kids and the U-Haul, say a quick little prayer that, 1, we're in a safe neighborhood, 2, that the house is there, 3, that it looks similar to the pictures and has furniture. And then, unfortunately, we've gotten to some places that were really dirty. Yeah. At the point where I told them we might not be able to stay because it was so bad. So those are kind of the factors that we think about before choosing a house. And I guess we can get in some tips on how we find it.
Yeah. And we've been, like we've already said before, been doing this for over 2 years now, and we haven't had, luckily on our end, and just a lot of just communication with realtors and Airbnb and credentialing process at the hospital, the agencies, that we haven't had one issue yet. We have not had one hiccup yet where there's been a cancellation on housing and to move out.
I got this wood real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Before you keep going with us.
Or housing canceled or a contract canceled. Because that is very scary. It's a very scary thought every new contract that we go on. And
well, and we have plan Bs. We have backup plans. If you do get canceled, you're credentialed at other places. He could leave and go work multiple places. It would leave me and the kids here, which the way we're set up is fine. If we were canceled from a house,
we could go get a tent and go under a bridge like most of these places.
We just camp out for a few weeks. So luckily we are flexible if it happens, and thankful that it hasn't. Definitely a possibility.
Mostly how we've done it is we just come up with cities that we want to go see, that areas of the country that we've want to travel to. Like I said, from Louisiana, we've gone to Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maine, Oregon, South Dakota, Colorado, Montana. So we find these areas, find the city, go onto the search engines websites that we have already alluded to: Airbnb, VRBO, Furnish Finder, other Facebook groups. And we find the housing that we have 3 kids. We try to get at least 4 bedrooms. Like I said, one of our biggest tips is to not skimp on housing. Yes, it is expensive, and you sometimes may have to pay out of pocket, but you can negotiate with the agency, can negotiate with the hospital to try to get more housing stipend to offset the cost prohibitiveness of housing. Because it's expensive to live. We all know inflation and everything else, and you can't even get a hotel room for $200 a night. I've been some places where they said they would only give me a $3,000 stipend, and I'm like, there's just no way. Housing costs between $4,000 and $6,000. I'm just not doing it, and that's just part of who we are. We travel together. It's just what we're going to do, and there's no ifs, ands, or but about it. Um,
But we do kind of do our own market
yeah.
research before committing to a city. We go on, I'm just going to say Airbnb to make this easy. We go on Airbnb, we do a broad search of the area to see what the median price is for a monthly rental.
Mhm.
And then Blake can go back and say, look, this is what the housing market is in this city. If they can't up my pay for the house, then we can't come. We also look to see if we go on and look for a city and there is little to no housing, we kind of question why.
Right.
Why is there no housing available? Why is there no housing available? Does that mean that the city is not growing? Is there not enough resources there for us to enjoy as a family?
And then tourist season is just another variable here. Everybody wants to go to Maine in the summer, of course. So guess what? The prices are expensive. You're always looking for the monthly rate, and they do. And you always want to look for monthly discounts. It usually has it on there when you're booking, but make
If
sure you
not,
always
then
ask for
manager
that.
posts.
Yeah, a lot of times you look at these postings and they're like set at $16,000 a month because their nightly rate is $500 a night.
Because most people are just booking a
Yeah.
weekend or week-long vacation. And
Mhm.
so during the popular times, those nightly prices go up. But if you message your host, hey, we're
Yeah.
coming for 3 to 6 months, what can you offer?
Yeah.
We have not had an issues. They usually come
Mhm.
back and, a couple times we've had to say, sorry, that's out of our price range. But a
Yeah.
lot of times they have worked with us.
Yeah.
What can you afford? You know,
Don't just skim the prices. Make sure if it's the house you like, even though it's set at extremely high monthly rate, message them and then work the deal out to where you can afford it. Um, Even within your travel stipend, monthly travel stipend, or if you have to work an extra shift to just pay a little more, I'd recommend that if you have to. Um, just don't skimp on housing. You don't want to be uncomfortable every time you come home. We were in Maine and we contacted the host, got a lot better monthly discount. Like we were there from between May, June, and July, um,
which is their prime
which is
time.
their prime time, especially in July. So in the month of July, we paid $8,000 a month to live there in a pretty small house. But June and May were $5,000 a month. That was just the deal we made because just 5,000. Yeah, it's why we didn't stay there longer because it's so expensive. But it's their prime time where they could rent it out every day, weeks at a time with different renters, and they're going to make a lot more money. So you can't blame the house owner. It's just
We also were in
economics.
a prime location by a bay because we didn't want to be in deep in the city, just for personal safety reasons. So, like we said, it is our personal preference to pay a little extra to be in a prime location where we know is safe, where we hope is safe, where you pray is safe. Um, but definitely message your host. As a host myself, it's nice to get to know your renters and why
Yeah.
they're coming and what you can do to help. And if you tell somebody, I'm, a CRNA or a travel nurse, I'm going to be at this hospital, they will respect what you're doing and
Yeah.
probably be a little bit more.
Another episode, we're going to delve into what we do with our personal home, which we short term rental it on Airbnb and the other platforms as well.
We could have a whole YouTube series. Every
Mhm.
time somebody checks out, we could have Reagan go through and show you the absolute wreck people can make in 2 nights. But it's worth,
But for the most part, it's all as well.
yeah. It's standing and
Yeah.
it's no worse than 3 kids living in it.
No doubt.
But some tips that we have for when you're looking at a house on Airbnb and to know if it's a good house or should you pass. Number one is the reviews. People will tell you if you read whether you should rent there or just carry on. Because for some weekend getaways, we've stayed in 20 to 30 plus Airbnbs just for our weekend getaways. And that is the first place I go. I go to the reviews. They will tell you if the house is dirty, if the host was non-responsive, if the location is sketchy. So reviews, if it is, we have stayed in a couple of new Airbnbs for weekend getaways. I can't say we've stayed in a new one for the long-term rentals. And for the most part, for our weekend ghettos, we've had wonderful experiences, minus one place. Probably my fault for not reading the reviews well enough on that one. And
Which one?
in Nashville when we
Oh,
went with
yeah.
Catherine. That one was,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so reviews number 1. Number 2, they do not give you an address when you're looking at it, but there is a map, and you can zoom in and get a roundabout idea of what street, subdivision, area the house is in. If you zoom in on some of the pictures, a lot of times you'll see the house number on a mailbox or a front porch. We have been able to find 95% of the houses on Google Maps. You go to the street view and you walk around your neighborhood, and you will figure out real quick what the neighborhood is like. Number 3, the description will tell you about bedding, queen, king, twin bed. We have stayed in a couple places where we're sharing a much smaller bed than we would like. So that is one thing that kind of was put on our must-have list is what kind of bed we want. So really just read every detail, flip through the pictures of the Airbnb, look at the reviews, get yourself on the Google Maps street to see. Another way we've found them is on Airbnb. If there's a picture of a realtor's card, because they cannot put their information in a description, I don't think. But if they have a picture of their card, call or email them, because they probably have other properties available that might not be listed on Airbnb that's coming up, that's not furnished, whatever it is. So always contact the number if there's a realtor, or if the host looks like a realtor group, just Google them and you can contact them directly. There are some large management companies, 2 of them that I know of. If you contact them and ask them for a monthly discount, they will tell you no. So we don't love, which is fine too. That's
It's
their
like an
management
automated
company.
message, but
But they
every
give
time
you
it's
no
the same
wiggle,
thing.
and it's non-personal, and it is so we prefer to work with hosts that you see their picture and they have 1 to 10 properties, or a real estate agent who's managing the properties, versus a big corporation that is nationwide who does not care if your dryer goes out today or the dishwasher last week. So that is just our 2 cents on who we prefer to work with. Just because we've had better experiences with one-on-one host, for sure.
Housing could be a lot easier with it just, by yourself or with you and a significant other. But when you get 3 kids involved and homeschooling every day, and you got to pay attention to the details. And
Well, and it's expensive
yeah,
in some of these places. I mean, we can't just go out to eat every day. So
right.
as much as we like to.
You just got to pick up an extra shift. You want to be able to work at a place you can pick up an extra shift too. It helps.
Makes you feel a little bit better when you have to
It helps
write
to
that check
swallow
every
that
month.
rent check every month for sure. I think that's all the tips I have on this.
Yeah. Be prepared for the rent. Negotiate it with your agency.
Always have a backup plan on your previous hospitals or locum assignments. You never know what could happen, and you don't
One
want to
other
be out of
tip.
work for months unless you can afford it. But life's expensive.
Can we be over?
Yeah, we can, but
But we-
life's expensive.
One other tip I just thought of was, if you put in that you need a house for 3 months, which is kind of how we start out, and it says it's unavailable. On Airbnb specifically, you can click the dates and see when it's not available. Sometimes it's booked out for like 1 weekend or 1 week, and so it messes up your whole stay because it tells you need to change houses. Message your host and just say, hey, we're looking for a 3-month stay with you. I saw this 1 weekend is booked out. If it's someone that cancels, let me know, please, or let them know what you're doing. We've had somebody say, hey, as the host, I personally blocked out that weekend for me to spend at the house. It's canceled. Go ahead and book your stay. So your host will be your best friend as far as what's really available. Are the weekends really blocked out? Can you stay there? Yeah. So don't just think looking at it, oh, darn, I can't get that house. Definitely send them a message.
and communicate to them that, like, okay, well, without a doubt, stay in 3 months. But what if I want to extend for a month? That was a big hurdle for us. We said we're going to just keep going every 3 to 6 months, whatever our assignment at each place was. And we just made our Airbnb for that long. Well, so then the next week, someone's booked. So you can't extend working in that city or that hospital. You can't extend, but then you'd have to move houses within the city. So at that point, we're just like,
I'm not
let's
moving
just
houses.
drive another 1,000 miles to another state.
That's kind of how it always felt.
So,
if we're moving and we can figure out the move,
yeah,
let's just go.
like we were
Unless we were staying for a long time, then I'll move a house. But
we really thought about extending in Portland, Oregon for 2 months. But, we didn't extend the housing initially. And so we had to move housing, and we weren't going to just do that for 2 months. So,
and I guess the way that you could maybe do that is offer can I send you a deposit that would go towards that month and let you know by X date. If I can't do it, refund the deposit or,
right,
put that into the next month's date.
I
guess is how you could do it.
Yep.
But yeah, make sure in your contracts that you have a 30-day out or cancellation. I've told our host before, hey, I see your cancellation is this. However, if my husband got canceled, could I give you a 30-day notice instead? And most of them are fine with a 30-day notice. You can book your house.
Some people and some places say no cancellation policy. So that's up to you. But take it with a grain of salt. I would probably not stay there. You never know with work. I mean, we're locums. We're the chopping block. And
we had a couple people ask us. So is a locum just a travel?
Yes.
Yes. So maybe we could.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We use these terms, nonchalantly, I guess. But locum just means to fill a temporary void, essentially. So we hear everybody knows what a travel nurse is.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people say travel nurse
or a per diem nurse. You have even a lot of healthcare people ask you, what's the difference between a locum, a traveler, and a per diem? Yeah. There's really no difference. It's all the same. They're all locums. We're just advanced practice or doctorate role, or always just seem to be termed locums. Locum tenens is the name.
All right. Well, if y'all have any questions about housing, find us on Instagram or shoot us an email. I'll have everything linked in our show notes below. You can sign up for our newsletter so you'll be the first to know when our new episodes drop and get exclusive emails with all our resources. Next week, I am hiking a 14er here in Colorado, and my fitness trainer and nutrition coach from Louisiana will be joining me. So we are hoping to get her on to give us all the tips and tricks for healthy eating on the road, fueling your body for work and fun on new adventures, and hopefully we survive our first 14er.
And the city we're living in is hosting the PGA BMW Championship next week. So we're going to do that with our kids and 50 of the best golfers in the nation.
Which I guess is how we got started in all this, is we got sick of just doing quick vacations and then trying to cram everything into 1 week. So we said we want to really immerse ourselves into new cities, have the time to go to events, farmers markets, hike the area, and really just dive into what that city has to offer without just playing tourist for the weekend.
So hopefully Paige makes it off the mountain. We can continue this.
We'll see. Till next week.